This conference will now be recorded.
So everybody please be on mute. So I'll give you time to ask your questions. So you can raise your questions at the end. Okay, now we will be talking about SAP FICO. Now, I hope most of you or all of you are aware of what is SAP FICO, and you would have some kind of a background with SAP FICO, either with your different demonstrations that you have attended, or some of you may be working as FICO consultants, or some of you may be already trained somewhere else, or you would have at least some basic understanding regarding SAP FICO. Now, the points that we are going to discuss here is something different. I'm not going to talk about the points that you're all aware of. Instead of discussing the general topics that
Sir, I'm unable to hear you.
sorry, can you hear me now?
Yeah, yes.
Oh, okay, sir.
Yeah,
Yes.
all right. So in SAP FICO, we are all aware that SAP FICO is a single term, but in practical terminology, SAP FI is a different term, SAP CO is different term. Before we understand what is SAP FICO or what is SAP FICO, first we need to keep in our mind accounting. This is the first point that we should keep in our mind, because if you do not know accounting, if you are not aware of accounting, it is practically not possible to understand SAP FICO. We have to relate each and every point with practical environment and real time environment. Only then we will practically relate things with a consulting world. What exactly you are going to do as a FICO consultant, right from the beginning, you have to relate it. So when I say you have to relate it, make sure if you become a consultant, this is what you are going to do. If you are in any project tomorrow, whatever the activities that you are going to do, what is the expectation from you in the project, that you have to understand right from the beginning. Otherwise, what will happen? We will be ending up looking at SAP FICO from the SAP FICO course content point of view, and the course content of SAP FICO and the actual content of SAP FICO consultant is exactly different. When I say it is exactly different, when we are talking about FICO, we are only focusing on what are all the configurations, what are all the topics that you have, without relating it with any practical real scenarios, or without relating it to any project environment. But in reality, it is different. So those points we will try to understand slowly in the overview sessions that we are starting from today. So we will be having approximately a week overview sessions. In these overview sessions, I'll try to give you the clear understanding about SAP FICO. After attending these overview sessions, you will have thorough understanding, fair idea about what is SAP FICO, whether you can pick, whether you can get into SAP FICO or not. According to your current situation, you can take a decision. Okay, I think this will suit me or this will not suit me. You can take a decision after a week. In short, after completing our overview sessions. Now, to begin with our discussion, first we have to understand accounting. The reason why we are talking about we have to understand accounting, because whatever you do in SAP FICO is purely related to accounting. There is nothing that you do in SAP FICO which is apart from accounting. Straight away, directly connected, directly related to accounting. Now, those who are new to accounting, those who are not from the accounting background, does not have to worry, because you are not going to work as a accountant, you are not going to work as an end user here. All you need to understand is what is accounting, how accounting works in any organization. Now, if you take any organization, let's say, let me write a company. If you take any company, for example, for every company there is something called business. If you take any company, your company is doing a business. Your business is nothing but you're talking about a company. When you're talking about business, you're talking about purchases and sales. So here in every business, either you have to purchase or you have to produce to perform sales. Now, end point of any business is to make profit. Profits are possible only when you're able to sell something. If you're selling something, you can derive or you can make profit. To make profit, you have to sell something. So when you're selling, you can sell either a product, you can sell a service. Now, these products or services, how you are manufacturing and how you are providing. Either you can purchase or you can produce. Now, in this process, you have to slowly start understanding business process right from the beginning. Now, in this process, every company would like to know their profits at the end of every month. This is mandatory requirement for any organization or any company who is doing legal business. Now, when you're talking about legal business, now we need to understand what is legal business. When we talk about legal business, a legally registered entity or legally registered company. You can take any business, but always try to take a business which is legally registered. When I say legally registered, where there is a letterhead. When I say letterhead, if you're talking about any company, if you're performing a sale, if you're performing a sale, if you're a registered company, you are supposed to produce a bill. You have to give the invoice copy to the customer or bill to the customer. On this invoice copy or on this bill, you are supposed to mention your organization name or your company name, your business name, address, contact number, and everything. Because you're legally registered company, whatever the sales that you're making, whatever the purchases that you're making are supposed to be tracked in a systematic order according to the different accounting standards or different accounting principle. For example, if you take a company in India, assuming that you are working in India or your business is operating in India, if you are operating business in India, we are all aware that according to Indian Companies Act or according to Indian accounting standards, every organization will have to perform their accounting. Now, here for these accounting standards, for this accounting mechanism, nobody can interfere in between, nobody can manipulate this because these are all monitored by Indian accounting standards. Now, these accounting standards are nothing but accounting principles. The accounting that you are performing or that you are writing in your company book of account is based on the accounting principle, in short, different accounting standard. These accounting standards you have to adopt and then you have to follow for preparing your financial statements. When you're talking about financial statement, you're talking about trial balance, P&L, balance sheet. The trial balance, profit and loss account, balance sheet you have to prepare at the end of every month in any organization, irrespective of the size. Whether you are very small legal entity, which is an initial startup, or you are a level 5 company, whatever may be the company situation, every company will have to prepare this. For preparing this, you have to do accounting, right? For preparing this, for finding out whether we are making profit or we are getting losses at the end of the month, you need to perform accounting or you need to prepare accounting. To do this accounting, you have different applications in the market. When I say to do this accounting, different applications, we are all aware that everything is digital, everything is computerized nowadays. Nobody will write accounting in the ledger books. In short, no manual accounting is maintained in any organization. First of all, that is not allowed because you're not supposed to manipulate your accounting, you're not supposed to manipulate the transactions and all. That is the reason you have to record each and every transaction in the accounting books. Now your accounting books are nothing but your different ERP applications. When we talk about different ERP applications, you may be working on Tally, you may be working on Oracle, you may be working on JD Edwards, you may be working on different applications. Likewise, SAP is an accounting application. Likewise, SAP is an accounting application. In SAP, there are different modules. Each business process is represented as a module in SAP. If you're talking about accounting, your accounting is part of SAP FICO module, or your accounting is part of SAP FICO module. In FICO, what you will do is something that we have to understand. In general, whenever a company is performing accounting, their accounting is classified into different partitions. When I say different partitions, let's say I will put accounting here. In general, when you talk about accounting, we are talking about financial accounting. Accounting, we are representing financial accounting. This financial accounting is nothing but SAP FI module. In general, you call it as accounting. This accounting is nothing but financial accounting. This financial accounting is represented as SAP FI module. Similarly, there is something called costing. This costing is nothing but management accounting. You can also call it as cost and management accounting. This is called as SAP CO or SAP controlling module. In short, when you're talking about SAP FI, when you're talking about SAP CO, these two are different, accounting and costing. In short, financial accounting plus controlling module together we represent as SAP FICO. As these two are directly related to accounting, any person who is working on accounting module is supposed to know accounting side at the same time costing side. That is why people call it as SAP FICO consultant or SAP FICO. But in general, FI is different module, CO is different module. But in the current situation, as a FICO consultant, you are supposed to be aware of what is SAP FI, what is SAP CO, and you must be in a position to handle both. Now, within SAP FI, you have different business processes. When I say different business processes, in any organization, when you talk about accounting, you will have different segregations within the accounting. These segregations, basically, you will have general ledger. This is also called as your GL module. Next one, you will have accounts payable. This accounts payable is nothing but AP. You will have accounts receivable. This is nothing but AR. You will have taxation. In the taxation, you will be having sales and purchase tax, and you will also have withholding tax. And we have to understand cash accounting, and you also have to understand bank accounting. And you will have something related to assets or asset accounting, and the other things are part of your integrations. When you talk about integration, like SAP FI is a module, there are different other modules for different other business processes. Like for purchasing, there is a module called logistics. Inside the logistics, you have a dedicated module for purchases like materials management or SAP MM. Now, how your MM module is integrated with accounting module, that is part of your integration. Similarly, for sales, it is again part of logistics. Within logistics, for sales, you have a dedicated module called sales and distribution. How this sales and distribution is related to SAP FI, again part of your integration. In short, SAP FI ST integration or ST integration with FI. So those are all part of your integrations. Now, these are key business processes from any business point of view. Apart from this, there are different other topics which are SAP specific. Those points we will discuss shortly. And similarly, when it comes to controlling, you have different points to be discussed from the controlling perspective. You will have cost elements, you will have cost centers, profit centers, internal orders, product costing, and COPA. Basically, these are the points from the controlling module or from the costing module. In general, if you look at this SAP FI, if you look at this SAP CO, majoritarily this is what is represented as course content. In SAP FICO, majoritarily this is what is represented as course content. But if you are preparing for SAP FICO or if you are learning SAP FICO, these points are anyways included in your course content, because this is what you have to work, this is what you have to configure in SAP system. But how you are configuring, that matters a lot. End of the day, you are going to connect all these points, because based on these points only every business process will operate in real environment. They have to perform GL module, they have to perform AP, AR, taxation, cash, bank, accounting, integrations. Everything is mandatory. We cannot say that I don't want this, because in order to complete your accounting, each and every sub ledger or each and every sub module is mandatory from accounting perspective. Now the way you have to look at is different. The way that you are looking at these points is supposed to be different than how you are supposed to look at it or how you are currently looking at it. If you are practicing SAP FICO or if you are trying to understand SAP FICO, do not straight away try to understand what is there in SAP FICO, because if you are trying to understand, you will find things simple, you will find things easier. But in general, in real time, in the reality, it is different. When I say it is different, if you see from the general ledger point of view, anything which is part of or anything which is posted in GL account, you call it as general ledger or you call it as part of a GL module. And if you talk about accounts payable, anything which is recorded against a vendor, you straight away call it as accounts payable. Similarly, anything that you're recording against a customer, you call it as accounts receivable. Wherever you're collecting taxes or wherever you're paying taxes, you will be calling it as taxation, either direct taxation or indirect taxation. In short, sales and purchase tax or withholding tax. Cash accounting, how your cash is handling. Bank accounting, including your BRS and all. Asset accounting, how your fixed assets are managed. Integration, how different modules are connected with your accounting module within SAP. Similarly, cost centers, cost element, profit center, internal order, product costing, COPA, we have to understand at a high level. When I say at a high level, what is what you need to understand by looking at the term. That is your first point. After that, whether you are able to relate these modules or whether you are able to relate these points with any existing organization or with any organization of your choice is what you have to realize. Now, when I say that, first point that you have to understand, take any one company. Let's say if you take any company, assume that first month financials. Assume that you're taking any one company. You can take any company of your choice. Put your name followed by company or private limited. If I say Ajay, I will say Ajay Private Limited. Generally, nobody will create Ajay Private Limited. Ajay Private Limited should have something in it. Let's say Ajay Chemicals Private Limited or Ajay IT Solutions, Software Solutions, something you have to provide in your company name. First point, when you're talking about company, you have to understand which company are you talking about. Now, if you're talking in a general way, you can take any company. If you're talking with respect to SAP, you have to take a legal company. When I say general, you're not relating with SAP. You can take any company, any name you can take, any company name you can take, any business you can take. But when you're talking or when you're relating it with SAP, it has to be strictly a legal company, because small companies cannot afford SAP. Only legally registered companies can afford SAP. So the kind of examples that you're taking should be different. It's not that randomly any example that you take to understand is not going to help us. Now, let us take a general example. If I take the general example, let's say any one company, and I want to list out first month financials. If I have to list out first month financials, first thing when you talk about financial, we are talking about trial balance, P&L, balance sheet. In order to complete or in order to come to first month financials, we are talking about finalizing the financial position or finalizing the accounting situation. To find out the financial position at the end of a month, you have to follow or you have to know accounting cycle. There's something called accounting cycle. Based on this accounting cycle only, you can find out what is your first month financial. Now, what is this accounting cycle? First thing you will have is journal entry will be there. First, you need to write a journal entry. Based on the journal entry, you have to prepare ledger accounts. First, you need to write journal entry. Based on the journal entry, you will be preparing ledger accounts. Based on the ledger account, you are going to prepare trial balance. And from the trial balance, you are going to prepare profit and loss statement. And after profit and loss statement, you are going to prepare balance sheet. Now, this is mandatory requirement for every company at the end of every month. This is mandatory requirement for every company at the end of every month. You may be hearing very frequently at the end of every month, especially those who are working in accounting side. We are busy with month end, we are busy with the closing, quarter end, year end, auditing is going on. Different terminologies we will be hearing from different people, those who are working in accounting side or finance side. Now, what they are representing when they say we are busy with month end closing, we are busy with auditing and all, they are representing closing or finalizing of this accounting cycle. In short, your accounting cycle starts from journal entry, your accounting cycle ends with balance sheet. Your accounting cycle ends with balance sheet. At the end of every month, each and every company, they have to finalize their balance sheet and they have to finalize their profit. What is the profit they have to finalize? In order to do this, every company will have deadlines. When I say every company will have deadlines, some companies will go based on calendar days. Some companies will go based on working days. If I say calendar days, they may say 5 calendar days. So if you're talking about November, you have to close November financials by 5 calendar days in December. So 5 calendar days in December will be 5th December. By 5th December, your November month financials must be closed. So no company will work just like that. Every company will have the rules and regulations internally. If they are going with working days, they may say 5 working days. Now here all days are included, here only working days are included. For example, if Friday, Saturday is coming, only Friday is included, Saturday is not included because Saturday is a weekend. So Saturday will be counted as Monday. So Saturday, Sunday you will ignore. So when you talk about 5 working days, you are not including holidays, you are not including weekends. Likewise, each company will have their own approach to finalize the financials. Accordingly, they will be working at the end of the month to freeze the financials, to freeze the profit loss, and to freeze the asset liability position at the end of every month. In order to do this, they need one application. In order to do this, they need one application. Depending on the size of the company, depending on the budget of the company, they will be opting for different accounting applications. Some may go with Tally, some may go with Oracle, some may go with SAP likewise. Now, since we are talking about SAP, we are going to consider SAP as our accounting application to finalize our financial books. Now, to do this accounting, what we have to do is you have to understand how this accounting cycle will generally happen in any organization. Let's say we are talking about journal entry. We are all aware without journal entry, nothing is possible in accounting. In accounting, it's all about a number. It's a numbering game. You have to put a number or you have to remove a number. In short, add a number or reduce a number. To do addition, to do deduction. In short, either you will be doing a plus or you will be doing a minus in your accounting. Either you will do a plus or you will do a minus in your accounting. This plus minus is nothing but, in short, debit credit in your accounting. This plus minus is nothing but debit credit in accounting. Debit credit is not possible without journal entry in accounting. If you wanted to debit something or if you wanted to credit something, in short, if you wanted to increase any value or if you wanted to decrease any value, you need to pass a journal entry. Journal entry is going to debit one account, journal entry is going to credit one account. Why account? Because you're talking about accounting cycle. In accounting cycle, it is all related to accounts. Now, how will you write the journal entry? Just like that, you will not write any journal entry. To write a journal entry, you must know what happened. As you're all aware, accounting is performed once the transaction is completed. So first you will perform the transaction. Based on the transaction, you are going to decide which accounts you are going to update, like which account you want to increase, which account you want to decrease. In short, where to debit, where to credit is possible only when you know what happened. So what happened is nothing but your business transaction. What happened is nothing but business transaction. First, you have to understand what is the business transaction. Based on the business transaction, we will decide which account to be debited, which account to be credited. In short, what accounting entry to be written. In any organization, in any company, this is what will happen. For example, at the end of a month, a company has processed payroll. Now today you are on 27th, assuming that on 31st company is processing the salary to all the staff. Now first what they will do, they will release the funds, they will approve the salary, and then they will write the accounting entry. Now what accounting entry they will write, you have to understand. What you need to understand, what happened first, they paid salary. When they paid salary, just like that, you cannot write the accounting entry, because all these days we are used to accounting in such a way. If I say salaries, blindly we will tell salaries account debit, cash account credit, or salaries account debit, bank account credit. We are only talking about salaries paid. We are only talking about salaries paid. Let's say if I say salaries paid. Now, if I say only salaries paid, we cannot imagine the accounting entry for it, because this is incomplete information. I am talking about the salaries paid, but I'm not saying how salaries are paid. Salaries paid by cash or salaries paid by bank. If I'm talking about salaries paid by cash, my accounting entry would be salaries account debit, cash account credit. If I say salaries paid by bank, my accounting entry would be salaries account debit, bank account credit. I may say that let's say I have a policy. In my company, I'm not paying salary at the end of the month. As you're all aware, most of the companies will pay the salary on the same month at the end of the month. In short, if you're receiving salary for November, November salary will be processed or paid by November itself. By 31st November or by 30th November, you will receive the salary. In short, November expense is booked in November month. Some companies, what they will do, November month salary they will pay in December. Some companies will process November salary in December. Maybe 1st December, 5th December, 10th December, they will pay the salary of previous month, which is November. In that case, November salary is how they will book. Here there is accrual. They are going to accrue the expenses, but they will book the expense, but payment will be released next month. So in that case, they will debit salaries, but they will not credit cash account, they will not credit bank account, because payment will be released in next month. Next month they have to reduce the cash account or bank account, but in this month they will not reduce it. Instead of reducing it, they will add it to your liability. So likewise, different scenarios you have to understand. All these scenarios are part of your business transaction. When you're talking about a business transaction, we have to understand what happened clearly. When I say what happened clearly, just like that, by simple statements, you cannot imagine. You cannot imagine, because we are not learning SAP FICO for the purpose of learning. You're learning SAP FICO to become a consultant. When you become a FICO consultant, you have to closely work with the different end users, different stakeholders, different clients. So wherein you will have to interact with them, The client does not know SAP FICO. Client knows only accounting. Now, whatever you're communicating with your client or whatever your client is explaining to you is in accounting language. When we say you're going to communicate with your client in the accounting language, all they need from you is their accounting application or support, or they want you to assist them closing their financials smoothly at the end of every month or on daily basis. So any problem they face in between, they are going to approach SAP FICO consultant. We are SAP FICO consultant. Now, for example, you are SAP FICO consultant. I am working as an end user. Now I am trying to record a transaction. I am getting some error, or I do not know how to process this transaction in SAP. So what I will do, straight away I will reach out to a FICO consultant. I will ask this FICO consultant, I want to do this transaction. How do I do it? Which screen I should go? How do I record this entry? Now, as a FICO consultant, you have to explain me. Before you explain, first you need to understand what I'm talking about, what entry I'm talking about. You cannot say go to F-02, you can post any entry. First, you need to understand what kind of entry they are trying to pass. Accordingly, you need to guide where you need to go, and after posting the entry, how this will affect, how this will impact in their reporting. Because if you are a FICO consultant, you are supposed to understand their business process. If you're a FICO consultant, you are supposed to understand their business process. When you're talking about the business process, their operating procedure. When we're talking about their operating procedure, every company will have their own approach, their own standard way of operating or capturing the business transaction. Now, this operating their business process or business transaction is nothing but a requirement. This is nothing but requirement. This requirement you can call it as client requirement. You can also call it as business requirement. Thus you can call it as either client requirement or business requirement. Based on the client requirement, based on the business requirement, you have to work as a consultant. When there is no requirement, you are not going to do anything. When there is no requirement, you are not going to do anything, because anything that a consultant works, in short, let us restrict only to the FICO functionality. As a FICO consultant, anything that you are going to perform is based on the business requirement or is based on the client requirement. If you do not know the business requirement, if you do not know the client requirement, what will you do with the system? You will do nothing, because you are not sitting in front of the test system, you are not sitting in front of the practice system, you are sitting in front of the client system. To put a dot, to add something, to delete something, you need approval. You need confirmation from the client who asked you to do it. Whether it is possible, not possible, valid, invalid, you have to make sure you are in a position to decide it. Now, as a FICO consultant, first point you have to understand is as a FICO consultant, you are an individual contributor. When I say individual contributor, there is nothing called teamwork. There is nothing called teamwork in SAP FICO. If you are a FICO consultant, whatever the areas that you are working, only you are responsible for it. You have to take the ownership, you have to take the responsibility. If something goes wrong with it, you have to be answerable for it. You have to take the you have to give justification, reasons why you did it, who asked you to do it, and on what basis you did this, why it is not working, what is the expectation. Everything you have to explain. That is the reason, as a FICO consultant, you are an individual contributor. Do not think that today, if I am taking a leave, don't think that your work will be done by somebody else. Nobody will do your work. If you are on leave for 2 days, your work will be pending for 2 days. If the client is asking this is very urgent, simply they will tell that no, this consultant is currently on leave, he will come after 2 days. Any other information they will provide, but work nobody will do it. Your work you are supposed to do it. Now, when you talk about client requirement or when you talk about business requirement, Your requirement will come from accounting side only. Your requirement will come from accounting side. Now this requirement you are calling it as client or business requirement. Now here you are talking about business process. Here we need to understand business process. First, whatever the company that you're taking, try to analyze or try to understand what is their business process. What is their business process? And according to the business process, you have to analyze. Now, in general, when you talk about a business process, first thing you need to understand a term called data flow in SAP FICO. How the data will flow in SAP FICO, first you need to understand. It all begins with this here. Okay, it all begins from your client requirement or business requirement. Based on client requirement, based on business requirement, you are going to maintain configurations. Just like that, you will not do any configuration. Your configuration is strictly based on the business requirement. Based on the requirement, you will do the configuration. Based on the configuration, you will maintain master data. You have to maintain master data, because without master data, transactions are not possible. So based on the master data, you are going to maintain or you are going to create transaction data. Once you have masters in place, once you have transaction in place, then you are going to generate various reports. Then you are going to generate different kind of reports. This is in short the data flow of SAP FICO. Now first point, you have to understand, you have to remember these points. In short, anything that you do in SAP FICO, you have to follow the same sequence. If you are not following this sequence, whatever we do is not practical, is not realistic. It's like you are doing it, but you cannot connect it with any previous point, you cannot connect it with any further point, right? But in accounting, in SAP FICO especially, everything is interconnected. Everything is interconnected. You have to connect different dots, and you need to understand from where these dots are coming. How do you connect this? If you see a point from a point of view, then you will not be able to understand why we are doing this. You will only understand how we are doing it, which screen we are going, which T code we are going, what information you are giving, how you are saving it. You will understand it. But why you are doing it, what is the requirement, what are they going to do with it, future, all these points you have to understand as a consultant, because that is documented as part of client or business requirement. Now, when you talk about SAP FICO, all of you must have heard something called projects. When you talk about SAP FICO, we must have heard something called project. When you're talking about project, what is project? Now, if you're talking about that I am a FICO consultant, I have 1 year experience, I have 2 year experience, I have 4 year of experience, or I have 5 year of experience. Everybody will ask you how many projects you worked. Everybody will ask you how many projects you worked and whether you did any implementation project, any support project, any rollout project, any migration project. What do they mean by this project, and what will happen in the project? And you will also hear from the market people stating different things like real-time project training. What do you mean by real-time project training? What happens in a project? So what you will do in a project, these points we have to understand. When you understand these different points, then when we are trying to relate, when we are trying to understand what is SAP FICO, we can connect the points. Okay, this is what a FICO consultant will do in a project. Or tomorrow, if I am becoming a consultant, my activities, my roles and responsibilities will differ based on the kind of a project that I am assigned to. If you are assigned to an implementation project, your activities will be different. If you are assigned to a support project, your activities will be different. If you are assigned to a rollout project, your activities will be different. Similarly, do not assume that as a FICO consultant, you will do only configuration. That's the first mistake that we will do. Do not assume that configuration is only the activity that a FICO consultant does. That is the first mistake that we will do. Eliminate this point from your mind. FICO consultant is not responsible only for configuration. There is a lot of groundwork done before you do the configuration. There's a lot of groundwork before you do the configuration, because configuration is not the starting point. Configuration is not the starting point. Configuration is possible only when you have the business requirement or only when you have client requirement. First, you need to understand what is the requirement. If you do not know what is the requirement, you can do nothing with config. Assume that I know how to create a company code, I know how to create a different settings in SAP. What for? Tomorrow when you become a consultant, nobody is conducting an exam for you. I will give you 10 minutes, let me see how many company codes you will create. Nobody wants to say it. Nobody wants to see it. Now, since we mentioned a term called company code, let me put this here. Now, if I talk about company code, we are all aware in SAP everything is connected to company code. In SAP everything is connected to company code, especially for your FICO module. Whatever you do, you need to link it to company code. Whatever you do, you have to connect it, or you have to link this to company code. First of all, what is company code? How do you create a company code? Now it's very easy that you will go to a transaction code and then you will add a new entry. You will put your identification, name and address. You will save it. Company code will get created. First of all, on what basis we will decide that you will need a company code? Who will tell you that I need a company code? And how do you decide whether you need one company code or you need multiple company codes? And when you create a company code, from where you will get the data? You will create a company code. Let's say ABC Private Limited you are creating. How do you decide that ABC Private Limited you have to create? Because you are working for ABC project. For ABC project, you will create ABC company code. Now, when you're creating a company code, how do you take the naming convention? Because in the practice, what normally we will do, you will take naming convention, whatever comes in our mind. When I say whatever comes in our mind, you will create a company code, whatever comes in your mind for 4-digit, 3-digit, you will randomly put it and we will create an entity. But in real time, it is not the situation. In real time, it is not the situation. Whatever the identification that you are creating, even for your company code, whether you want to create ABC or whether you want to create 1000,001, you have to discuss with your client, you have to document it. You have to discuss, you have to document, and based on this document only your configuration will happen. Now the document that you're referring is nothing but business blueprint. We must have heard something called business blueprint or solution design document. Either BBP document or SDD document, solution design document, is the key for doing your configuration. Now, what is this business blueprint? Business blueprint is nothing but extract of their business processes and expectation in their SAP. So you will understand their current business process. You will understand their current business process and then you will see their expectation in the SAP. Currently, this is how we are working, but in SAP, this is how we want to work. These problems we are facing in current system. When we move on to SAP, we do not want to have these problems. We wanted to have different control points, different expectations. All these things you will list out and then you will see what is possible, what is not possible. In short, you will do as is study. You will study the current business process and you will propose the SAP business process. And based on that, you are going to prepare a document. This document is nothing but your business blueprint document. Based on the business blueprint document, you are going to prepare one more document called key data structures. In short, KDS document. You will have BBP document or solution design document. This document is followed by KDS document. So based on this documentation, you are going to maintain config. In short, it is straightforward, straight away, directly, no consultant No project will make the configuration. Similarly, you are also not going to make any direct configuration, because if it is, this is not the play of configuration, this is the play of your business process. Most of the time we will ignore this statement and we will straight away do this and we will stick to only this point, but this is a wrong approach. First, you have to understand the business requirement. Now your business requirement is depending on these 3 points. When you're talking about business requirement, business process, that is connecting these 3 points. Connecting these 3 points, you have to freeze this business requirement. After the business requirement, when you do the configuration, you have to test these 3 points. Whether you're able to create master, whether you're able to post a transaction, whether you're able to generate the report. Is everything according to our expectation or not? If you do not know this, if you do not test in this way, whatever the configuration, whatever the practice, whatever the understanding that we are having is not going to help us. Because tomorrow what will happen, let's say you are not supposed to see only from the configuration point of view, only from the course content point of view, because there is a lot beyond that. Those points you have to understand. Only then it is possible for us to understand what exactly is happening and how this is happening. And tomorrow when you talk, tomorrow when you explain, whether the other person is able to get convinced or not. Make sure when you talk about any process, when you talk about any activity, the person who is listening to you should get convinced. When we say they should get convinced, they should not say no, you're wrong. They should not say this is not the way we work. They should not say tell me how this is going to work. As a consultant, always remember, anything that you're talking, you should have a justification. As a consultant, whatever you're talking, you should have a justification. When I say justification, if I'm saying this is how it will work, why it will work like this, give me an answer, give me an explanation. Same thing will work with your client, same thing will work with your interviewer, same thing will work with your any friend or anybody. Considering these points, you have to start thinking from SAP FICO in this similar approach. It is not that straight away we will look at the course content and we will start putting the checkbox, okay, this is completed, this is completed, this is completed. Will complete your course but will not complete your understanding. Now here, when we talk about data flow in SAP FICO, how data is flowing in SAP FICO? We are talking about business requirement, we are talking about config, master data, transaction data, report. Now here things will be different when you're in a project, things will be different when you're in a learning stage. Currently we are not in a project, currently we are at a learning stage. In the project, what will happen? You have different people to work on different activities. For example, to give you the business requirement, you have a client. Your client will tell you this is how we are currently operating, this is what is our expectation. In the similar way, you are going to freeze the requirement. According to the requirement, you will maintain the config. Your configuration you will have to test. So when you're testing, you will create some masters, you will create some transaction, you will generate some report. But now when you're practicing, when you're learning, who will give you requirement? Nobody will give you the requirement. There is no client. Who will test all this? There is no user. Now you have to understand things from different perspective. Now here you have to understand business from client point of view, in short from the business point of view. You have to understand things from a consultant point of view. You have to understand things from the user point of view also. These three roles you have to understand at the time of your practice. Only then you can see the complete picture. Only then you will understand what exactly happens in SAP FICO, what you will do as a consultant tomorrow when you're in any project. Otherwise, whatever you will do as configuration, you will be shocked, you will be surprised to see what is actually happening in any project. And remember, ignore this point. When I say ignore this point, don't stick to this point called configuration. Most of us will think that SAP FICO course is only related to configuration. This is just part of your FICO consultant activity. There are different things that you are going to work apart from configuration. Configuration itself is not straightforward. To do any config, you need requirement. Now, what is business requirement? You have to understand. How do you get the requirement? How do you freeze the requirement? How do you finalize the requirement? And what points, what issues, challenges you will face during the requirement gathering? We have to first understand. Now, why requirement is coming in between for every point during a discussion? Because SAP is not ready to use application. SAP is not ready to use application. When I say SAP is not ready to use application, let's say you purchase the license of SAP or you purchase the SAP product, you cannot straight away use it. SAP is not ready to use application. You have to set up system according to your requirement. You have to set up system according to your requirement. When you're talking about setup system, now I'll say purchase of open plot or land. I'll say purchase of a truss material. Similarly, I will say purchase of SAP. SAP FICO license. Okay, purchase of SAP FICO license. Now these three are same. Now when you purchase open plot or when you purchase open land, this is not ready to stay. You cannot stay when you purchase open land because you need to construct. We need to construct here. Now when you purchase any dress material, this is not ready to wear because here we need to stitch. You need stitching here. And similarly, when you purchase SAP FICO, this is not ready to use, and here we need to configure. Now when you purchase an open land, you cannot construct on your own. Alright, you are the owner of the land, but you do not know how to construct it. So what you will do, you will depend on the builder, you will depend on different contractors. So what they will do, they will come and construct the house for you. But when they construct the house, you are going to give your requirement. You are going to tell, I wanted to have 1 BHK, I wanted to have 2 BHK, my dimension should be like this, gate should come here. You will give different requirements. Accordingly, they will tell. And they will tell, no, in this, the land size you cannot construct in this way. This is not possible. This way only you can do it. It will not. So they will give you the different suggestions. Accordingly, you will freeze. You will make a plan, construction plan. Now the plan is finalized even before you start the work. Plan is finalized even before you start the work. Based on the plan, the construction activity will begin. Similarly, when you buy a dress material, the material you cannot wear it because you need to stitch it. Now when you're stitching it, you cannot stitch on your own. You will need a tailor for it. So when you go to a tailor, you will give your requirement. You will not just like that give the material to the tailor, stitch a dress for me according to your wish. Nobody will do it. We will also not do it. So what you will tell that I need this kind of a material, I need this design, I need like this measurement. Tailor will be taking the measurement according to your requirement. What is the length, what is the width, which design you want, and how you want the additional parameters on it. Accordingly, the tailor will list out all the measurement and he will give a copy to you. That these are all the size, these are all the measurement, this is the sample that you have given me. And based on that, tailor will do the work. Similarly, SAP also same. Any company who purchases SAP is not ready to use, they need to configure it. Company cannot configure on their own, they need consultant. They will depend on the consultant. Now to the consultant, similarly, they will tell their business requirement. Based on the requirement, consultant will discuss. They will say this is possible, this is not possible. Finally, they will freeze the requirement. When they freeze the requirement, this requirement at the beginning of the project, you call it as business blueprint or solution design document. After the project, you will call it as business requirement document or BRD. This document, you will prepare it and then you will start configuring the system. When we are talking about this is how the system is configured in any project or in any real environment, when you're practicing in the similar way, you have to practice. When I say in the similar way, just like that, randomly, blindly don't configure anything. Don't even think in that way, because you do not know why somebody is configuring that way. There may be a different logic with them, they may be experimenting a different scenario which you are not aware of. By looking at the configuration, do not come to any conclusion, do not understand this is how system is configured. That is only the configuration. Remember, configuration is based on the business requirement. Business requirement will keep on changing, business requirement will keep on fluctuating, company to company, project to project, client to client. When we know this is the requirement, configuration is not straightforward. When it is not straightforward, you are not supposed to blindly remember the configuration, you are not supposed to focus on the config. Instead, focus on the client requirements, business requirements, different scenarios. In any interview that you attend tomorrow, every interview is based on scenario based majoritarily. People will give you scenarios and they want you to explain the scenario. If they give a scenario, they want you to explain how do you handle this scenario or how do you set up this scenario in your project. Now they are giving a scenario, they are asking us to explain it. They are not directly asking us to tell me the configuration of this, tell me the T code of this. Nobody will ask you in any interview. When this is the fact, when this is the reality, you're not supposed to prepare straightly or you're not supposed to depend directly on the config. Always remember, understand the requirement and then relate this requirement with SAP. If you are clear with the requirement, the remaining things will fall in line automatically, because you will not be satisfied. You have a requirement in your mind, you want to post an entry like this, you want to see the report like this, the report should show X number. Unless and until you get your expected result, you will not be saying okay for it, because you are going based on the requirement. You have a clear clarity what you are expecting from the system. This is possible only when you understand the business requirement or only when you take the requirement. If you're not understanding the requirement, if you're not taking the requirement, whatever the configuration that we will do, we do not know why we are configuring like this. You do not know how to test it. You do not know how to justify whether this is right or wrong. Because you maintain some setting, system is accepting the setting, you post a document, entry is posted, you pull the report, output is coming, we feel that everything is fine. But remember, we are working on SAP FICO, and in SAP FICO we are talking about accounting cycle. In accounting cycle, your end point is balance sheet. In your accounting, end point is your balance sheet. Nobody will accept the balance sheet or P&L just like that. Nobody will accept in any company, in any organization, no matter what. If somebody is accepting it, they will get caught during the auditing. Your chartered accountant or your auditor will catch, stating that this is a mistake, this value is not correct, your profit calculation is wrong, your depreciation is wrong, your taxes are wrong. Tell me the documentation for this. Why did you record this entry? Why entry is coming here? Give me this report, give me that report. Now, end user will not understand how to get all these things. What user will do? He will straight away reach out to the FICO consultant, which is we again. You have to understand, user will tell my auditor is asking this entry is wrong. Can you tell me how system has accepted this posting? In which report I can see this? As a consultant, you have to explain. As a consultant, you need to tell them. For this, you have to understand business process, no other go. I cannot say, no, I am responsible only for the configuration. I only did config. Ask me how to do configuration. What is the transaction code? What is the IMG path? I can tell you, but remaining thing I do not know. That is of no use anywhere. Your configuration knowledge is not going to help you anywhere to manage, anywhere to sustain, anywhere to survive. If you get the requirement, automatically everything will fall in line. But if you're ignoring that business requirement, if you're straight away depending on the configuration, we are not going to become a consultant. Even if you become a consultant, you will struggle. You will depend on other person because you know the config, but you do not know how to do this configuration according to the requirement. These points we have to slowly understand, right? Now, here, after explaining these points, after the discussion of these points, what we're trying to achieve, what we're trying to understand here is, first point, you have to be very clear with your mind. When you're talking about SAP FICO, do not assume that it is a configuration game. This is not a configuration game. You have to be very practical, you have to be very realistic. When I say you have to be very practical, very realistic, in general, if you see whether you can learn SAP FICO in a specific duration, whether you can understand SAP FICO in a specific time frame, we need to put a question. All these questions will be clarified in our upcoming overview sessions. With practical examples, practical scenarios, we will try to understand each and every point. After that, we will develop a different mindset. Okay, what exactly happens in consulting and what we have to think, what we have to understand during our learning, so that when you're sitting in any interview, you will not find it difficult. When you're sitting in any interview, you will not find it difficult. Simple point, what you have to do is, you have to compare course content, compare SAP FICO job descriptions. Now, when I say compare course content, everybody is aware what is course content. It's nothing but whatever the topics that you're going to discuss in course content. Now, you will find company creation, company code creation. Look at any course content. You will get different course content even if you Google it. Google SAP FICO course content and you will find SAP FICO jobs. You will find different SAP FICO jobs. Every SAP FICO job will contain some job description. See what is there in job description and then see what is there in your SAP FICO course content. Check if you are able to relate to them. And you will be surprised once you do this activity. You will be surprised once you see this, once you perform this activity, because most of the things that you find in job description, you will hear the terminology, naming conventions, points for the first time. Because these points are not part of your course content. Because in general, course content is all about your configuration. That point we have to understand, realize first. Course content will contain only the configuration checklist. Create this, assign this, define this, add this, add that. Only the configuration part is there in your course content, but job description is not related to config. So that is the reason we said just now, do not think that SAP FICO is only about config. There is a lot beyond the configuration. Before config, after config, there are a lot of activities. Config is just an activity. It's just 10 or 20% of your activity as a consultant. The remaining 80% to 90% is beyond configuration. What is that 80% work, what is that 90% work that you should know as a consultant is what you have to learn. Not the configuration in the training. You're not supposed to know the configuration. Simple point that you have to realize, if the intention is to know the SAP FICO configuration, if our intention is to know the FICO configuration, we don't have to do any FICO course here. You don't have to do any FICO course. You don't have to join anywhere. You don't have to pay money to anybody, because this FICO configuration is a freely available content in different platforms. You will get different videos on YouTube. You will get different step-by-step materials. You will get step-by-step configuration documents from different sources, right? Now, if you are learning the same points, if you are repeating the same configuration after making payment to somebody, then you are doing wrong. That is the first mistake that we will commit which will not allow us to become a consultant, which will not allow us to become successful in your SAP FICO. When you are joining a course, especially for SAP FICO, ignore this configuration. If your intention is only to see the configuration, please don't join any FICO course. Just watch YouTube videos. You will find n number of YouTube videos for most of the configurations. If you don't find any video, you will find different configuration documents in the market. If you Google it, you will get hundreds of documents, hundreds of screenshots, how to do what. But on what basis you are doing, that is what your consulting skill. That is what your consulting skill. That consulting skill is what you have to learn. That consulting mindset, consulting approach is what you are going to learn when you are joining any course for SAP FICO, not the config. Config is never the priority for your SAP FICO learning. It's part of your learning. That's it. So when you are clear with the different points, the way you think, the way you look at the FICO should be changed. Otherwise, we will end up looking at the configuration only. Do not look at the configuration, look at the business process, look at the requirement, and if you are given a requirement, whether you can do it. Simple example, what you do is take some basic accounting. When I say basic accounting, take some purchases, take some sales, okay, and some expenses, some incomes, and assume that I will take purchases as 5,000 and I will say sales as 8,000, expenses 500, I will take income as 300. Now if I wanted to find out whether I got profit or loss from this transaction, if I wanted to say whether I got profit or loss from this transaction, how I am going to find out? I can easily find out. I will take my expenses, I will take my incomes. How I will take my expenses? Purchase is an expense, I will take purchases plus expenses. 5,500 is my expense. Similarly, I will take my income. Sales is an income and this is the other income. By looking at this, I came to know my income is 8,300, my expenses are 5,500. Now the difference between your income and your expenses will become profit. Okay, 8,300 minus 5,500 will give you 2,800 profit. This is profit because income is more. Now manually you are able to do it. Now think by considering only these 4 GL accounts. Considering only these 4 GL accounts, whether we can create a company code in SAP and can we see the profit and loss statement for 2,800. You don't have to do any other configuration. Your requirement is simple. This is your requirement. Create a company code, put any name of your choice. Okay. And what you wanted to see is you wanted to see the P&L in SAP, which will show 2,800 profit. Just question yourself, how do I do it? What is to be done? If you are able to understand to achieve this, these are all the steps that I need to do, then you are in a good line, you are in the proper line. And you are confused whether I need to do this, do that. If you are starting to receive different question marks in your mind, then something is wrong. Our way of understanding is not correct. Because you are used to configuration. You are used to configuration. If I say configure accounts receivable, straight away you will do it. Within 15 minutes you will do the configuration and you will give it to me. Because I am asking you to do the configuration of accounts receivable. You will tell me create account group, this, that and all. We have a list. But the moment we get a requirement like this is how you will get the requirement when you're in a project or when you're in any interview or when somebody is asking you, they will ask like this. Nobody will ask you the configuration. Keep it in your mind. Very clearly, nobody is going to ask you to explain configuration in any interview. No client will ask you to tell me the configuration. No interviewer will ask you to tell me the configuration. It's only we who feel that configuration is everything, but which is a wrong statement. Realize the reality and then act accordingly. Now, if this is the requirement, how do we do it? And what company code you will create? Now, I just gave you a simple requirement. Now, if you see it, we have to understand which company code I will create. Okay, I will create Ajay India Private Limited. Okay, but what is the company code I will create? You have to visualize everything and the flow will come automatically from your mind. Okay, to achieve this, I need to do this configuration. This is the only requirement. You don't have to do other configurations. To pull this report, to pass this entries, whatever is required, only those points you have to configure, not everything. Don't configure the complete SAP FICO course content configuration. Based on the requirement, you have to do it. It is like, let's say if you go to a restaurant, you have two options. Point number one, you can go for a buffet, wherein you can take whatever you want. One price, everything is included in it. That is your buffet. A la carte means whatever you ask, only that thing will be given to you. You need to pay for it. Now, SAP consulting is never a buffet. So this is ruled out from SAP. So your SAP consulting is always a la carte. Whatever they ask, you do only that. As a consultant, you will never serve a buffet. As a consultant, we will not serve buffet. You will only serve a la carte. You will give them menu. If they ask this, and you will give that. After seeing that, if you say no, this is looking something different, taste it not good, I will tell this is what you asked, this is what I have given. Right? Similarly, when you're working on any project, when you're thinking from the practice point of view, always have the requirement. What are you trying to do? What are you trying to achieve? Accordingly, you start configuring. That is the only way you will start understanding how things will have to fall in line and how you have to think as a consultant. Otherwise, we will be moving around configuration every time you are, your mind is loaded with configuration. What is the T code for it? What is the IMG path for it? What error I am getting? First of all, why you are doing this configuration? What is your requirement? What is your expectation? What are you trying to achieve? If this is not clear, whatever you do, how much ever you practice, how much ever you understand, is not going to help us. That's only the configuration knowledge. This config knowledge is not going to help us clear the interview, point number one. Sustain in your job, point number two. By doing some miracle, you can clear the interview because it's a 30-minute activity. In this 30-minute, if you can manage your interview, you can clear your interview. But after that, every day 8 hours you have to spend with the system. You do not know who will call you for what, who will ask you to do what. In that situation, make sure you are able to understand, you are able to do the configuration, you are able to understand your configuration, and you are able to relate your config with the requirement. If this you are able to achieve it, the way you are working, the way you are thinking is in the exact line of consulting. Right? So let me stop this here today. So we will have overview sessions for a week to 10 days. In this 1 week to 10 days overview sessions, we will talk about different points. We will discuss, we will elaborate all these points, whatever is listed here, with different examples, practical facts regarding your SAP FICO, everything we will discuss in this 1 week to 10 days sessions. After that, you can decide whether this is going to help, whether this is going to meet your expectations, your requirement, and then you can decide whether to join or not. Now, in this process, any questions, any confusions that you have, you are free to ask. Okay, but make sure first we will understand the points, and then it will be most of your questions are automatically clarified when I explain. But in case if you get any questions, feel free to raise your hand. I'll ask your names at the end and I'll clarify your questions. Clear? Yeah, if you have any questions,
Yes,
you
sir.
can ask. Yeah.
Ajay, are we going to cover this order management and then activity-based uh, costing? Is this part of COPA or is this like part of CO model?
In controlling, we will be doing basic product costing, basic COPA, because product costing COPA are part of the dedicated controlling sessions.
Mhm.
Okay, as
Okay.
part of this training you will learn everything practically, like cost element, cost center, everything conceptually done in detail. But product costing COPA will have the basic overview, basic understanding, because to do product costing, to do COPA, it will take minimum 3 months, because we need to
Mhm.
have different level of understanding on SAP FICO before we understand COPA product costing. Straight away we cannot do it. Straight away we cannot understand it.
Okay. And regarding this interface and from one system to another system interface, so are we going to touch uh, at least like the requirements and what requirements maybe the business would need in case if there is any requirement of interface, are we also oversee those
Yes,
parts?
we will discuss
Okay.
on the different requirements. We will see what exactly will be the role of a FICO consultant in any interface, in any integration. Who will do what, we will clearly understand. In
Okay.
short, you will have clear understanding on your activities in a project as a FICO consultant. Because what normally happens most of the times, whenever we are working in any project, we do not know who will do what.
Hmm.
When we say we do not know who will do what, for example, if you take a simple point related to integration, when we talk about integration, the most common point is FIMM integration, FISD integration. Agree?
Yeah.
Mandatory point to be discussed in each and every interview for any SAP FICO with any number of experience. Now, when it comes to integration, point number one, we have to, now, whenever you talk about integration, we start explaining from purchase order until the goods receipt. Agree?
Yeah.
Now, if you are asked a question, what was your role in the integration, FIMM integration in your project? Now, you cannot say purchase order, you cannot say goods receipt and all, because purchase order is not created by a FICO consultant. Am I correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
Now, but when you explain it, when you see this point FIMM integration, we are talking about different points. When you take this point practically to a real situation, you are not going to work on everything. You are only going to do the data validation in the FIMM integration. Consultant will create the purchase order, he will post GRN, he will post invoice. Consultant will give you purchase order number in the email. It will be in the official email. Dear FICO consultant, I have created a scenario in FIMM integration. This is the purchase order. Kindly confirm the accounting. Now, what you will do as a FICO consultant in accounting, that is what you have to verify. You will open the purchase order. You will see the purchase order history. First, when you look at the purchase order, you have to understand. When you look at the purchase order, when you understand the purchase order, see what is ordered in the PO and what accounting entry system has generated, whether the accounting entry is correct. Second point, whether the values are correct. Third point, whether the GL accounts are correct as per your account determination. After that, how, what you are going to convey, what you are going to confirm to the consultant. Now here you are taking the responsibility of confirmation of the configuration also. Agree?
Yeah.
Consultant will not proceed further unless you confirm the accounting is correct for the purchase order. Tomorrow if something goes wrong, he guy will simply tell, no, I have already validated. I already got a confirmation from FICO consultant that the accounting part is correct. Now, are we checking at this level when we are practicing, when we are understanding, or we are only checking purchase order, GRN invoice, purchase order, no accounting entry, GRN, inventory debit, GRIR credit, invoice, GRIR debit, vendor credit. This is what we normally prepare. But is this the same situation when you're in any project? It is different, right? Your activity is segregated. When you practice, you have to practice everything on your own because you don't have a team. But when you are working in a project, you have to clearly know your responsibilities. In any project, you will have clear roles and responsibilities. And in any interview, people will clearly ask you what was your role in your project, what was your contribution to the project. Is my point correct?
True. Yeah.
Why these questions will come in your interview? Because no project no project will allow a consultant to focus on everything. Okay, so these roles and responsibilities is something that we have to clearly understand. So that is where when you talk, the other person will know whether you really know the SAP FICO, whether you really have the sufficient knowledge, or you just have some information but you are not clear who will do what. That segregation is very important. Deepak, any question?
Hello, AJ.
Yes, Webster.
Yeah, it's actually nothing class related, right? But it's just about different time zones, and I just wanted to find out because I'm in a different time zone, and where I am right now, it's a bit like I'm like 3 hours behind you guys. You guys like are a bit ahead. So I wanted to
Yes.
know if I want to follow up on this class that we had because I just woke up, but it's like 4 a.m. right now. So I just wanted to find out that are you gonna where can I find this video again for this class? I don't know if there's also somebody else who's having the same situation or what is your next class? What time are you gonna have your next class? Then we can always go back to this video.
This recording I will be sharing maybe in 1 or 2 hours in the group I will share.
Or you're gonna share it in
Okay,
the
so
group.
yeah, so you will receive this
Oh,
recording so that you can refer it back. And the next session
oh,
will be tomorrow at the same time, 7:30 a.m. Indian time. So accordingly,
Indian
you
time.
convert your time. Yeah,
Oh, okay, no problem. No, if I just wanted to find out if you're gonna do the same thing with the rest of the videos, then I'm very comfortable. I just wanted to work around my schedule to see, okay, should I wake up at 3 a.m.? Because if I'm waking up around 3 a.m., I have to be up on time. So I just wanted to know if there's gonna be a recording of every video, then I'm fine. I'm comfortable with that.
yeah, yeah. You will
The
get all
rest,
this overview session recordings. Okay, so we will
uh,
have this overview sessions. Approximately 10 sessions will be conducted, the overview sessions, wherein I'll give you different information related to SAP FICO. After that, I will tell to decide whether to continue further, to proceed with the regular classes, or to take your decision. But for the first 10
oh,
sessions, which are the overview sessions, are only to give you clear understanding about what is SAP FICO, what you have to know, what you have to learn.
oh, thanks a lot, AJ. No, it's fine.
Yeah,
Then I can drop my call at the end. I'll just wait for the link. Thanks a lot.
yeah, all right.
All right,
So
bye.
all right, fine then. The further questions I'll take tomorrow because I have to leave for office. Okay, any questions that you're all having, I'll clarify your questions in the next session.
Uh, Hello.
Yeah,
Sir, actually, this overview session all are available in batch to all our sessions available on your YouTube channel also.
this
I
is,
think that, yeah.
I'll
So,
post them in YouTube also. I'll post them in this group, the new group that is created for this batch 4. inner group I will post, and this will also be uploaded in the YouTube. You can refer either here or there.
Sir, it's
I'll give you
already
the link.
available. Yeah, batch two. Batch two wala already available on your YouTube channel. 8 to
Though
9
these are
sessions.
different. Yeah, these are
These are
different
different.
sessions. Different, yeah.
Acha. Batch two or batch four, there is a total some addition or some maybe there.
You will find some differences, not the same.
Uh, because I have seen a lot of your entire session. All the videos are available on YouTube. That I have already seen.
Overview sessions will be available, but regular sessions will not be available because, as I said,
Right.
for the overview sessions, once I complete the overview sessions, I will give time. So I'll say that after 2 days or 3 days, we will start our regular sessions. Those who are comfortable with the overview sessions, you can decide to join. Only those candidates will be allowed to attend the regular sessions once overview classes are completed.
So, but overview classes will take 10 days, no?
10 days, yeah. 1 week we will take, approximately 10 sessions we will have. So that I cannot ask you to join, I cannot ask you to continue the training without giving you the clear picture about what is SAP FICO. Right, you
After
have to
2 days also
understand.
any regular batch is starting or what?
Sorry?
After 2 days also any batch starting? Your regular batch starting after 2 days
No,
also?
no, no.
Okay.
Not after 2 days. After completing overview sessions.
Overview session. Or if
After
any
overview
previous recorded
sessions,
lecture, we can take and start listening because there is saving times.
yeah, you will get that once you join the regular sessions. Once I start the regular classes for this, after the overview sessions, probably first week of December is where we are going to start our regular classes.
Acha, acha. Okay.
Yeah.
Sir,
Hello,
the SAP course will
sir.
teach in S/4HANA or is it?
This is in S4HANA 2022 version.
Okay, so entire course will be in S/4HANA, right?
Completely S4HANA. S4HANA Fury we will do it, and the changes from ECC to S4HANA we will see.
Okay, okay, thanks.
Yeah.
Sir, would you like to cover the body and body
Okay,
BDC,
I have a one question.
every,
Can I ask you? Just
everything?
it will not take more than 1 minute.
Yeah. Yes,
Hello.
please go ahead.
Hello. Yeah, Satish.
Sir, is
Yeah,
Okay,
sir, would
so
you like
question
to
is that
cover
actually
the?
I have a 15 years, 14 years of experience in accounts payable. Okay, I'm a manager in some reputed company. Right now, I'm stuck in a at my position, and I want looking for the good hike and the some other technical skills. So SAP consultant is, I think it's my cup of tea, and I will do it. Okay, in a better way. So can I do, okay. So the two things I want to ask, is it the right time? Is it good for me to change my it's a related one. SAP FICO is a related one for me. Okay, so can I change my field? Okay, because I have experience in AP. And the thing is that what is the scope of SAP FICO consultant in the future? So can I go get a good salary in the future, like 30 lakhs, 40 lakhs, or like that?
Yes,
What do you
you will
suggest
get
me?
it.
And is it the
See,
right time to? Is it good for me to change the experience, my job profile?
yes, obviously this is a good addition for your profile considering your rich experience. But the way you're
Mm-hmm.
projecting your experience should be different. Like you should state that you were an end user, you worked with different SAP teams during your journey. So the
Okay.
way you design your profile, the way you explain your profile, your experience should be different to attract or to get more calls and to convince your interviewer in the better way. It should not be that
Okay. Can you
I
help?
have.
Can you help me in that? Okay. Whenever
Yeah,
we
yeah,
will
you will be
complete
helped
our
out in
course.
that. Yes.
Okay.
So as I
Thank you,
said,
Ajay.
the training
Mm-hmm.
will continue until you get job. It's not that after 3 months duration, after 4 months duration, we will close the session. It is not like that. You will be attending the classes until you get the job in SAP FICO. It's not that 3 months duration, 4 month duration. The content will take approximately 4 months,
Okay.
because we don't go by the configuration, we go by the concept, we go by the logic requirement. So time will be a little here and there, because we go
Okay.
based on our understanding pace, not on my pace. If I go fast, I can complete in 2 months also, but the fact is you will not understand anything if I go at my pace. So we will go at slower pace, wherein you are in a position to understand, and tomorrow you are in a position to explain to the other person.
Okay. And what? So can I ask what is the charges for you? What for this
All those
course or
details
what?
I'll mention during our overview sessions. In the last session I'll mention that the
Because
details.
I have a night shift and today is I can attend your session, but
No,
from
you will receive
Tuesday
the
to
recordings
Wednesday,
every day. All
okay.
the overview sessions you will receive it, the recordings. You can go through the
Mhm.
recording.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Sir, would you
Thank you.
like to cover the body and BAPI interfaces programs?
Yes, we will discuss on BAPIs, BADIs, functional specification, examples, everything we will discuss.
Okay,
And we
and
will discuss to
would
the
you like?
extent of a FICO consultant. Let's say whatever you work on those areas as a FICO consultant in the real environment, only those points we will discuss.
Okay,
So
and
that
would
tomorrow
you
when you
like to
talk
cover
to the
the?
other person, yeah,
Okay,
go ahead.
would you like to cover that bank integrate outside bank integration with SAP and all and other models? Would you like to cover?
Those overviews we will do it. SAP bank integrations and all are part of your TRM module, treasury. Host to host connection, these are all part of your TRM, treasury.
Okay, and a functional specification and all.
Yes, we will do it.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Sir, you
Okay.
take class only FI model, FICO model, or some other model also?
Only FICO module as of now.
Acha. Any treasury model will take in future or?
In future, I will start treasury, but now due to time constraint, I'm not taking treasury.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hello, sir.
All right. Yeah, I'll take the further questions in the tomorrow's session because I'm getting late to office.
Okay.
Okay, so tomorrow we'll connect at the same time, or if you have any questions, you can post it in the group or you can put a message to me, I'll respond. Okay, so tomorrow
Thank
morning
you.
we will connect at the same time. Bye.
Thank you, Ajay.
Thank you.
Okay.